Alright, so I wasn't originally going to make a video about this movie because I don't really make Sonic movie content, but after watching Sonic Movie 3, I literally have to talk about it. This was genuinely one of the most fun and exciting movies I have ever watched, clearing Sonic Movie 1 and 2 by a large margin. I thought Sonic 1 was fine, but at the end of the day, it was mainly a generic kids movie with Sonic. Sonic 2 was more of a Sonic movie as it focused more on the Sonic characters and took much more material from the games. But Sonic Movie 3 is the Sonic movie, if you ask me. There's so much action, story, and emotional moments, all of which take direct inspiration from the games, mainly Sonic Adventure 2, of course. But before we get into the details, I just wanted to let you guys know that the first half of this review is completely spoiler-free, as I will mainly be talking about the characters. But the second half of the video is going to get pretty spoiler-heavy as we talk about the story, but I'll put a very obvious and big spoiler warning before that happens, so no worries there. Anyway, the characters. I know Movie Sonic is a bit of a controversial character within the Sonic fandom because people have this notion that Sonic is only supposed to act one way and do certain things, so people don't really like that Movie Sonic acts like, well, a kid, instead of this cocky badass like he is in the games, which is completely understandable, by the way. But while Sonic still acts like a kid in this movie, Sonic definitely has a wide range of emotion in this film. One moment he's doing Fortnite dances, making stupid fart jokes, and then the next he loses his fucking mind and wants to kill everybody. Okay, maybe it's not to that extent, but you get what I'm saying. Movie Sonic is not this one-dimensional character that a lot of people make him out to be. He has a fun, silly personality at some times, but he can get really pissed off if he wants to. Ben Schwartz does a fantastic job with the voice acting, as he always does, and I think his Sonic voice has become one of my favorites. But yeah, Sonic is really well done in this movie. Tails and Knuckles also return, of course, but they do take more of a back seat this time around, which is honestly to be expected because Shadow obviously takes a lot of the screen time, but Tails and Knuckles still have pretty important roles in the movie, mainly being Sonic's teammates. Yes, the power of teamwork is a really basic trope, especially for Sonic, I know, but it gives Tails and Knuckles some purpose, and seeing all three of them work together throughout the movie was really fun to see. Tails hasn't really changed much from the second movie, if you ask me. He's still like the brains of the team, if you get what I'm saying. Knuckles, on the other hand, I think has changed quite a bit. He's much more calm and collected in this movie, and at times he is actually the one that keeps Team Sonic from doing anything stupid. It's an interesting take on his character for sure, but I really like it. So again, while yes, Tails and Knuckles aren't that important in this movie, at least for the first half, their inclusions were still pretty fun to watch. Now, let's talk about Shadow. Yeah, his movie adaptation is really great. He's very powerful, yet mysterious. Every time you see him on screen, you just know shit's about to go down. But his backstory really ties his whole character together. Yes, he's a villain who wants to get revenge on the world, sure, but you learn that he has more emotions than that. You can see that he doesn't like hurting other people and doing what he's doing, but he feels like that's what's necessary. The whole dynamic between him and Maria is really freaking good as well. It makes his whole backstory that much sadder. We don't really get to see moments between Shadow and Maria in the games, but the movie does a really good job of showing you the relationship between these two characters. And again, it adds to Shadow's character and why he's doing what he's doing. Also, Keanu Reeves was a fantastic pick for Shadow's voice. When the movie 3 DLC came out for Shadow Generations, people were doom posting and were like, oh god, Keanu's voice sounds terrible with Shadow, or whatever the hell they were saying. But no, if you haven't seen the movie yet, just believe me when I say that Keanu's Shadow in the movie sounds way better than it does in the game. Overall, they definitely did Shadow's character justice in this film. Then we have Gerald and Eggman, both played by Jim Carrey, and this may be a hot take, but I wasn't really a fan of Gerald's character in this movie. No, it's not because he's not game accurate or whatever, and no, it's not because he's just another, maybe goofier version of Eggman. Wait, no, that's exactly why I dislike him. Look, I love Jim Carrey. I love Jim Carrey's Eggman, and you can tell he's having a blast playing these two characters, but I think it's a little too much. The funny moments are there, obviously, but they overstay their welcome, and many of them outright interrupt some actual cool scenes in the movie. Not spoiling anything here, but there was one scene that was really fucking cool, but right in the middle of it, it cuts to the two Robotniks doing some random funny BS that they've been doing throughout the entire movie. Again, I'm fine with some comedy moments, but there's just a little too many for my liking. I'm also not a fan of how they handle Gerald in this story. I feel like the writers couldn't decide whether they wanted to make him goofy like Eggman or they wanted to make him serious like he is in the games, because he goes back and forth and there's no build up to any of it. But yeah, those are the only complaints I have there. Before moving on to the plot and story itself, I wanted to talk about a couple more things, starting with the general pacing of the movie. Unfortunately, there is some filler that did not need to be in this movie at all. If you remember the wedding scene from from the second movie, you would probably think that was the lowest point of the movie because it was too long, and it didn't really add anything to the story. And yes, there is a scene like that in Sonic 3 that ended up being pointless and didn't really add anything to the plot whatsoever. But other than that, the pacing of the film is pretty good. The music is also something that a lot of people were worried about because the last two movie soundtracks just sounded like generic movie scores and didn't implement much actual Sonic music. Thankfully, there is a lot more Sonic music incorporated into this movie, but don't expect the entire soundtrack to be like the Mario movie where nearly every song is from a game. But there are some really good moments with the music in this movie that longtime Sonic fans would really enjoy, so keep that in mind. Anyway, that concludes the spoiler-free section of this review. We're now going to get into spoiler territory as we're going to talk about the story, including that cool post-credit scene that you probably don't want to get spoiled to you. So, massive spoiler warning here. Anyway, let's get into it. This is not a Sonic Adventure 2 movie like a lot of people thought it was going to be. Now, it takes bits and pieces from SA2, and it obviously takes a lot of inspiration from that game, but the plot itself is very different. Now, I wasn't expecting this to be a direct adaptation of SA2, mainly because of the fact that the other two movies were not even close to being one-for-one adaptations of the games, and I'm not complaining, I think that's great. Why would I want a movie version of SA2 when I've already played the game and experienced the story? It would be pointless. But as for the plot itself, I really don't know why people were acting like the plot would be nothing we were expecting. Shadow gets woken up after 50 years and wants to avenge Maria's death, so he works with the Eggmans to get that revenge. But Gerald wants to get revenge by destroying the planet using the Eclipse Cannon, which Shadow doesn't really like, and neither does Eggman. And then Shadow seemingly kills Tom, well, he didn't kill him, but it is heavily implied for a little bit, to get the key to the Eclipse Cannon. And this is where Sonic goes super because he's fucking pissed at Shadow for killing Tom. So they fight it out, and then Sonic is just like, you don't have to do this, and they save the day, so yeah, cool. Plot-wise, there's really nothing in the movie that was outright unexpected. It was pretty predictable the whole way through, and that's fine. Again, I just don't really know why people were acting like the trailers showed nothing. There's also a lot of emotion in this film, whether that would be with Shadow's flashbacks or the ending of the film. It's definitely the most heart-wrenching Sonic movie yet. One issue I have with Shadow's backstory, though, is the reason he's on Earth in the first place. Instead of being created by Gerald to cure Maria's illness, he just kind of shows up in a meteor and he just gets, I don't know, kept in a tube for testing or something. It's not a huge deal because all of the Sonic characters are aliens in the movieverse, but it just didn't feel right to me. The moment where Sonic and Knuckles are about to fight because Sonic wants to get the Master Emerald but Knuckles won't let him was good at the start, but it's just kind of funny how Knuckles was like, we took the oath to never abuse the power, and then he's just like, ah, fine, whatever, you can have it. I think some sort of mini fight scene with Sonic and Knuckles would have made more sense for that interaction. But I think my favorite parts would have to be where Sonic goes super. This is the most angry we have ever seen movie Sonic, and I love it. When he flies to the Ark and drags Shadow into space, that was amazing. In fact, the entire fight between Super Sonic and Super Shadow was just fantastic. Overall, the action segments in this movie are top-notch. The beginning scene in Tokyo was really good, but that was only a taste of what was to come at the end of the movie. There's not really much else to say about it. It's just every moment with the Super Sonic and Super Shadow fight was great. It was the best part of the movie, hands down. But when they team up and Live and Learn start playing as they go super, oh man, that was good stuff. And then they destroy a bunch of robots as they're trying to stop the Eclipse Cannon. And when they did that iconic SA2 pose, I damn near teared up. But the ending of the movie was fantastic. Sonic couldn't hold on to his super form, so as he falls to Earth, Knuckles and Tails come to the rescue. But Shadow and Eggman stay on the Ark to sacrifice themselves. And then Shadow removes his inhibitor rings and pushes the Ark away from Earth while Eggman stabilizes it. And I really did like the way Eggman went out. The whole subplot with Eggman and Agent Stone was just kinda whatever, but when Eggman dies, it really is kinda sad. But yeah, Shadow sacrifices himself to save the planet. There's a fucking Sonic Boom reference, and that was the perfect way to end the film. Until they revealed in the end credits scene that Shadow survived. Why? I know, it's Shadow, of course they're going to bring him back for the next movie or series or whatever the hell they're planning. But come on dude, it makes his sacrifice seem like it was all done for nothing, but whatever. Before I saw the movie, everyone was talking about how flipping crazy the post-credit scene was, and after watching it, yeah, I really don't see what all of the hype was about. It's just more characters being revealed, which the other two films already did. So what makes this one so special? Metal Sonic and Amy being here is really interesting to me, and we don't really know why they're here. Well, I think I have a good theory. But first, I just gotta say, they do look great. I know people are going to be bitching about the fact that Amy is some badass and not just a simp for Sonic, but I don't care. This is cool. Anyway, my theory on what the next movie is going to be about, because yes, it's already in the works, is time travel. I know, hear me out. For one, Sonic CD was all about time travel, and if Amy and Metal Sonic are here, then I think they're going to be taking some inspiration from Sonic CD. For two, where did Amy and Metal Sonic even come from? And why is Amy dressed in this weird Jedi-ass cloak? Well, when the Eclipse Cannon exploded, it left some kind of nebula or rift or something that I think could be a rift in time. Think about it. What powered the Eclipse Cannon? Chaos energy, and we know that chaos energy has the power to do all sorts of stuff with time. And you know what's crazy is that time travel was supposed to be a part of the Eclipse Cannon scene with Eggman. Back in spring of this year, storyboards for the movie were leaked online, and one of the storyboard scenes had Eggman in the cannon as it's about to explode, but the difference here is that as it's about to blow, time starts rewinding around him, and the scene is even titled Spaceship Time Travel. So time travel was a part of this scene at one point. But why was it removed? Well, I think they wanted to keep the reason why Amy and Metal Sonic are here a secret until the next movie drops, but I guess it could just be a scrapped concept altogether. Anyway, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, guys, I loved Sonic Movie 3. I really did, and it's definitely my favorite in the trilogy, but I did have some issues with it as well. I'm feeling a solid 8.5 out of 10. But that's all for me. Let me know what you guys think about this movie in the comments down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.